don't call you.
You see on the
So your cue is Ryan's on page 5.
yeah. And there it is in this.
Yes, you do. Oh my God, this is actually
Do you care if I mask during the Torah service? Do you want me masked, or you? You're gonna have to whisper things to me, so yeah.
You want me masked? Okay. I guess. Oh, we gotta start.
Yeah. Yeah, la la la, yeah la, yeah la 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 la, yeah la la la, yeah la, yeah la la la, yeah la, yeah la 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 la, yeah la 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 la. Yeah la la la, yeah la 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 la, yeah la la la, yeah la la, yeah la la la, yeah la 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 la, yeah la 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 la. Ya la la la, ya la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la, la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la. Ya la 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 la, ya la la.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
You're here for the PTA meeting, right? No? I'm Rabbi P.J. Schwartz, and I'm joined on the Bima with Cantor Devorah Felder-Levy, our accompanist Ian Solomon, and our bat mitzvah, Ryan Kavanaugh. We are so thrilled that you are here to celebrate Shabbat with us and to celebrate Ryan as she becomes a bat mitzvah. Couple pieces of housekeeping before we formally begin our service. Throughout our service, we're going to be leading from our prayer book, Mishkan Tefillah, the navy blue prayer book that you should have received when you entered the sanctuary. We're going to be calling on the blue bracketed page numbers throughout the service. In addition, you can follow along with the order of the service with this little booklet. And when we get to the Torah and Haftorah reading, the Torah and Haftorah reading can be found in this booklet as well. At this time, I also kindly ask you to make sure that your cell phones are on silent. And I know that we are all excited for Ryan, and I know that we might have the the desire to applause at times, but instead of applauding, I kindly ask you to show your enthusiasm and excitement and your joy by actively participating in the service. Sing with us, pray with us, be with us, and I know that Ryan will feel that love that way as well. At Shir Hadash, we always begin our services with words from the Psalms, Hine Matov U'Manayim, telling God and saying how wonderful it is for us to be together. In many congregations, the translation, Hine Matov U'Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad, and Achim is this word that translates as brothers. And we have at Shir Hadash adopted the word kulam, meaning everybody, because we are so thrilled and excited that everybody dwells together in this house of worship as a sacred community. So we continue on page 188 with Hine Matov.
Hine matov u'manayim, shevet kulam gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim, shevet kulam gam yachad. Hine matov, shevet kulam gam yachad. Shevet kulam gam yachad, hine matov u'manayim. Shevet kulam gam yachad, hine matov u'manayim. Shevet kulam gam yachad.
We continue on page 184. Who does not hunger for friendship, understanding, warmth, and love? Hazak, hazak, v'nit hazek. Let us lend strength to one another and pray for the welfare of this community. We continue on page 186.
Mode ani lefanecha, melech chai v'kayam, shechezarta bi nishmati bechemla, bechemla, rabba emunatecha, rabba emunatecha. Moda ani lefanecha, melech chai v'kayam, shechezarta bi nishmati bechemla, bechemla, rabba emunatecha, rabba emunatecha.
In the book of Numbers, we are commanded to wear fringes upon our shoulders, and these fringes remind us of the commandments within our tradition, the commandments that guide us as Jews and filled with values and ethics. And we wear this as a display of that commitment. It is my pleasure at this time to invite up Julie and Chris as they share some words of love and congratulations to Ryan and present her with her talit.
I cry. Dad's already started. Oh, it's long. I had a few things to say. Shocker. Well, here we go. Everyone get ready to watch Chris cry. Ryan, this day has been in the making
for more years than you've been alive, and it's one steeped in historical tradition and symbolism. Today, you become a bat mitzvah, the 6th grandchild. You honor yourself, your family, your Judaism, and your community by having chosen to make this journey. The long history of our family traditions within this synagogue began many, many years ago. As the story goes, and many have heard, when Grammy and Poppy landed here in Los Gatos in 1983 with our big family move from Baltimore, the first Friday night Shabbat, they went shul shopping. And finding Shir Hadash in its infancy, the rest is history. Myself, having been confirmed here at 16, and then your 2 uncles becoming bar mitzvah, followed by your sister and your 4 cousins, this community that surrounds you and uplifts you today has deep, deep roots within our family. When Dad and I got married and we made him one of our chosen people, he became the tallest non-Jew in temple. And today, the commitment continues. There was no way to know this back then, that along the way, your Poppy would serve as president of this temple during some very challenging times, and that your mom spent hours drafting the designs of this sanctuary and stained glass that surround you today. Ryan, you have a light within you like none I have ever seen, and it lifts your wings. Your dad and I have loved watching you fly every day. You write a new chapter to the story of your life, and it is our joy to watch you write that story. You are passionate, compassionate, kind, fun, and a funny young lady. And we could not be more proud of you today, as we are every day. Take a moment and enjoy the view from the top of this mountain, because you climbed it and you made it. Remember that life is not about the destination, it is about the journey. And the journey is where you stretch and where you grow. As you continue your journey, surround yourself with people that uplift you and strengthen your amazing light. Everyone here today is here because they love you and support you and are proud of you, especially your Poppy, who you know is watching from above today. Ryan, my incredibly beautiful, sweet, amazing daughter, who is also far taller than me now, I love you more than words could ever say. And you know your mom. I have to end with some sort of nod to the great game of football, which I love so much. You have truly played this to the last whistle blew. Congratulations, and mazel tov with all my heart. Okay, top that.
I can't, and nor would I try.
She already made me cry.
Nor would I try. And for me, this is something, I gave Ryan something, and I'm going to read it all to you. And some of you may already know this poem, but it's by Rupert Kipling. It's If. And if you haven't heard it before, I'm going to say it right now. But Ryan, I shared this with her just recently, and it does talk a lot about the journey. If, by Rupert Kipling. If you can keep your head when all around you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, again, that's the famous part of this, but there's so much more. If you can trust yourself when all doubt you, but make allowances for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give away to hating, and yet don't look too good, nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken and stoop and build them up with worn-out tools, if you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss, if you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after you are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings, nor lose your common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if if all men can count with you, but not too much. If you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it. And, which is more, you'll be a woman, my love. The last part I changed. The whole part of this was just to remind Ryan, and this is what I believe, and I want her to too, is to always believe, to always know that having faith about who you are and what you can become is more important, and all the journey that goes with it is part of it, and our journey has only just begun. Ryan's going to be turning 13 this summer. We have a lot of life ahead of us, and all I want is life to be there for us to enjoy for the rest of it. That's it.
Got coached.
As I wrap myself in the talit, I fulfill the mitzvah of my Creator. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher kishanu b'mitzvotah v'tzivanu l'hitatef b'tzitzit.
Amen. We're continuing on page 192.
Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov mishkenotecha Israel. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov mishkenotecha Israel.
We're continuing on page 195.
Don't let me fall, as a stone falls upon the hard ground, and don't let my hands become dry, as the twigs of a tree, when the wind beats down the last leaves, and when the storm raises dust from the earth, with anger and howling, don't let me fall.
I have asked for so much, but as a blade of your grass in a distant wild field. Let's drop a seed in the lap of the earth and dies away. Sow in me your living breath as you sow a seed in the earth.
Baruch atah Adonai, Rufi kol b'sai, umafila so. Sorry.
We're continuing on the next page.
Elohai, Elohai, Nishama, Nishama, Shenatata bi, Shenatata bi, Tehorahi, Tehorahi, Elohai, Elohai, Nishama, Nishama, Shenatata bi, Shenatata bi, Tehorahi, Tehorahi, Elohai, Elohai, Nishama, שנתת בי, טהורה היא, טהורה היא.
We continue with the blessing for the study of Torah on page 204. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher kinishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. We seekers of God, how do we find you? In good deeds and in the study of Torah. And your search for us? You find us in the bending of the knee, in the rigor of study, and the honesty of commerce, through a good heart, through decency, in respect, true fellowship, companionship, and love, through the truth and peace, in the no that is really no, and in the yes that is really yes. Baruch atah Adonai, hamlamed Torah la'amo Yisrael.
We're continuing on page 215.
אשרי יושבי ביתך, עוד יהללוך סלה. אשרי יושבי ביתך, עוד יהללוך סלה. אשרי, אשרי, אשרי יושבי ביתך. אשרי, Ashrei, Ashrei, Yoshvei Veitecha. Happy are those who dwell in your house, they shall sing your praises forever. Happy are those who dwell in your house, they shall sing your praises forever. They shall sing your praises forever.
We continue on page 224. Yikadal v'yikadash Shemei Rabbah. Amen. Ba'amad divera hirutei v'amli malchutei behayechon uvyomechon uvhayedechol beit Yisrael. Bagala, Bagala, Uvizman Kariv, Ve'imevru, Amen. Yeheshmei Rabba Mevara, Le'alamu Almei Amaya, Yitbara. Yitbara ve'yishtaba, ve'yitpa'ar, ve'yitramam, ve'yitnaseh, ve'yithadar, ve'yitaleh, ve'yithalal, shemei dekudesha brihu, le'ala mincho birchata ve'shirata, tushbehata ve'nehemata, Da'amiran be'alma ve'imefru. Amen. Please rise. Baruch et Adonai Hamvara. Baruch Adonai Hamvara le'olam va'ed. Praise Adonai, to whom all praise is due forever. Praise be Adonai, to whom our praise is due forever and forever.
Ya la la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Ya la la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la. Ya la la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la.
Please be seated.
It is a tradition at Shir Hadash to have all of those recent and upcoming B'nai Mitzvah students to join our Bar Bat Mitzvah on the Bima to chant our prayer of creation, Yotzer Or. So at this time, I invite all of our B'nai Mitzvah students to join Ryan on the Bima.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Yotzer or v'rei Hashem. Osei shalom, shalom, u'beret hakol. Yotzer or u'beret Hashem. Osei shalom, shalom, u'beret hakol. We continue on page 231.
Love your neighbor as yourself, you said. And light-blinded we saw that inner and outer worlds are one as you are one.
You spoke and we wrote. We reached for you down the centuries, your light moving before us as we climbed. Fell back and climbed again, your Sinai of life.
Baruch atah Adonai habocher ba'amo Yisrael ba'ahafa.
Please rise. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Please be seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol me'odecha vechayu הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכך בדרך ובג'ותיך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיהם. אני אדוני אלוהיהם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות להם לאלוהים. אני Adonai Elohehem. We continue on page 239.
The eternal truth is that you alone are God, and there is none else. May the righteous of all nations rejoice in your love and exult in your justice.
Let them beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Let nation not lift up sword against nation, nor learn war anymore.
You shall not hate your brother or your sister in your heart. The stranger that sojourns with you shall be accepted as your equal, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt.
Why do you crush my people and oppress the poor? Asks God. We know that the Eternal One defends the poor and upholds the rights of the needy.
Praise to God Most High. Blessed is God and deserving of blessing.
We continue on the next page. Ya ba ba bim bim bam, ya ba 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 bim bam, ya ba ba bim bim bam, ya ba 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 bim bam, ay 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 ay, ya ba 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 bim bam, ay 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 ay, ya ba 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 bim bam, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh, nora tilot o sefele, nora tilot o sefele, shira chadasha shibechu geulim, לשמחה אספת hayam, יחד כולם הודו, והמליכו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. צור ישראל קומה בעזרת ישראל, ופתח חינומך יהודה וישראל, גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Please rise. Adonai sefatav tiftach ufia ki tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, velo avotenu, ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Velohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Velohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Hasadim Tovim, Vikunei HaKol, Vizoher HaSeyavot, Ve'imahot, Umevi Geula, Livnei Benehem, Leman Shemo Ve'arba, Melech Ozer Umashiach Umagen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ve'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mehaye HaKol Etah, Rav Lehoshia, Mechakel Haim Ve'hesed, Mehaye HaKol Ve'rahamim Ravim, Somech Nolfim Ve'rofei Holim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Mihamocha Ba'al Gevurot, Umito Melach, Melech Memid, Umechayeh, Umatzmiya Yeshua, V'neiman atah l'hayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mehayeh hakol.
Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב היה נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוא כל הארץ, כבודו, אדיר אדירנו, אדוני אדוננו, מדיר שמך בכל הארץ, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו, אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו, הוא מלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור. הללויה, 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 הללויה.
Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. You may be seated. We're continuing on page 250. The chorus repeats often, so I hope that you will please join me.
ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, קורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, קורא עונג שבת. מקדשי שבי שבת, כולם יספרו ויתענגו מטובך שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, קורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, קורא עונג שבת. והשביעי רצית בו וקידשתו שבת, חמדת ימים אותו קראת שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, קורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, קורא עונג שבת. זכר למעשה וראשית שבת, זכר למעשה וראשית שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, קורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת, וקורא עונג שבת.
We are continuing on page 253.
Where has this week vanished? Is it lost forever? Will I ever recover anything from it? The joy of life, the unexpected victory, the realized hope, the task accomplished.
Will I ever be able to banish the memory of pain, the sting of defeat, the heaviness of boredom? On this day, let me keep for a while what must drift away. On this day, let me be free of the burdens that must return. On this day, Shabbat abide.
Help me to withdraw for a while from the flight of time, contain the retreat of the hours and days from the grasp of frantic life.
Let me learn to pause, if only for this day. Let me find peace on this day. Let me enter into a quiet world this day. On this day, Shabbat abide. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
We're continuing on page 255.
On this holy Shabbat, may we draw nearer to life, to peace, and to joy.
May we find true rest, holiness in our deeds, worth in our study of Torah.
Let us feed on the love of goodness. Let us drink from the love of goodness.
Restrain our thirst for excess and cleanse our hearts to serve life well.
On this holy Shabbat, may we draw nearer in life and peace and in joy. Baruch atah Adonai,
Shochat b'yer navai.
We're continuing on page 257.
The expanding grandeur of creation, worlds known and unknown, galaxies beyond galaxies, filling us with awe and challenging our imaginations. Modim anachnu la. For this fragile planet Earth, its times and tides, its sunsets and seasons. Modim anachnu la.
For the joy of human life, its wonders and surprises, its hopes and achievements. Modim anachnu la. For human community, our common past and future hope, our oneness transcending all separation, our capacity to work for peace and justice in the midst of hostility and oppression. Modim anachnu la.
For high hopes and noble causes, for faith without fanaticism, for understanding of views not shared. Modim anachnu lach. For all who have labored and suffered for a fairer world, who have lived so that others might live in dignity and freedom. Modim anachnu lach. For human liberties and sacred rights, for opportunities to change and grow, to affirm and choose. Modim anachnu lach. We pray that we may live not by our fears, but by our hopes, not by our words, but by our deeds. Blessed are you, Adonai. Your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulcha na'el lehodot.
We're continuing on page 260.
Sim shalom, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed v'rachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, amecha, barcheinu yotzreinu kulanu kechad, ve'or panecha.
Page 258.
Ki ve'or panecha natata lanu, Adonai Eloheinu. Sim shalom, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed v'rachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, amecha, Torat chaim ve'ahavat chesed, ustaka uvracha ve'rachamim, ve'chaim ve'shalom. Sim shalom, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed ve'rachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, amecha, v'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol leit u'b'chol shab b'shlomecha. Sim shalom, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed v'rachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, amecha.
We take a few moments for silent meditation. Now we continue on the bottom of page 260.
עושה שלום במרומך, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
At the core of our Shabbat morning service is our Torah service. It's here where Ryan will chant from the Torah and connect herself to the story of the Jewish people. It is the story that connects us with values and morals that guide us and presents a blueprint for our lives today. So at this time, as we prepare for our Torah service and we rise, I invite up Ryan's grandparents, Dick and Wanda Ball, for our ark openers, as well as her grandmother, Joyce Freeman, and her parents, Julie and Chris, to the bima. Please rise.
שלושה דברים, העולם, העולם עומד. על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, העולם, העולם עומד. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים, על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים.
Havu Godel Eloheinu Nu Chavod LaTorah. Let us declare the greatness of God and give honor to our Torah.
כי מציון תצא תורה, כי מציון תצא תורה, ודבר אדוני מירושלים. ברוך שנתן תורה, תורה. ברוך שנתן תורה, תורה. לעמו ישראל בקדושתו.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonai.
V'gadlu la'Adonai iti. Umrimomama shemo yechadva.
Lecha Adonai hagedula ve'hagevura ve'hatiferet ve'hanetzach ve'hahod Ki b'shamayim u'ba'aretz Ki b'shamayim u'ba'aretz Adonai amamacha ve'amit na'aseh lechol erosh Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lechal kodsho Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lechal kodsho.
Please be seated.
Here's your binder. Your book is right over there. Oh.
No, the actual small booklet.
Do you have stuff in it?
I was going to look at the Torah, but don't worry about it. So, in this week's Torah portion, Tazria, we have this word Tazria, which is a word that is pretty atrocious. Unlike supercalifragilisticexpialidocious,
Or Doshus Aliexpistic Fragilisticexpialidocious.
bless you, which even though it sounds atrocious, is not. But Tazria, Tzara'at, is atrocious. It is the skin disease. And within Ryan's Torah portion, it talks about the conditions by which the skin disease requires an individual to be in quarantine and isolation. And typically it is a double portion because next week's Torah portion, Mitzorah, talks about how the individual who has been afflicted with skin disease gets to go back into the community. So Ryan is going to be chanting from the book of Leviticus. She's going to be chanting chapter 13, verses 1 through 9. And those verses can be found beginning on page 3 of your service booklet.
Ya'amdu Yafachana bat Moshe v'Chava v'Reuven ben Avram v'Sara harishon.
Baruch et Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. V'nata lanu el Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Vayeraber Adonai el Moshe ve'el Havron lemor Adam ki hieh ve'or besavro se'et o sapahat o vahevret ve'haya Ve'or besavro lenegat savrat ve'huva el Havron hakohen o el ahad mibanav hakohanim ve'ra'a hakohen et basar v'se'ar v'nega hafach lavan v'me'ei hanega amog me'or v'saro negat sarat he v'ra'ahu hakohen v'timo oto v'im barhev.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher nata lanu toret emet, v'chaye olam nata b'tachanu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. Ta'amod Yehudit Leah bat Moshe Reuven ve'Yafa Chana Hasheni. Okay, we're going to show Mom where we are. So we're going to take the corner. And we are... It's Ve'im Bayeret. Very good. Right there. Awesome job.
Baruch Hu Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Ve'im baheret levana hi ba'or besafro ve'amok ein mar'eha min ha'or usavra lo hafach lavan v'hiskir HaKohen et haneka shivat yamim Vera'ahu HaKohen bayom hashvi'i v'hine haneka amod ve'enav lo fasa haneka ba'or v'hiskivro HaKohen shivat yamim shenim vera'ah HaKohen oto vayom hashvi'i shenit v'hine keha haneka velo fasa haneka va'or v'tihavro HaKohen mizpahat hi v'hi beis begadav v'taher.
Are you really crying? A little bit. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chaye olam nata b'tochenu, Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Tamod habachura haba mitzvah ronit chana bat Yehudit Leah maftir chazak.
Baruch Adonai Hamvara.
Baruch Adonai hambarach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvara leolam va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bahar banu michol ha'amim. V'netan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah. V'im paso tifseh hamispahat ba'or ahavrei heraoto el hakohen letohorato v'nir'a shenit el hakohen v'ra'a hakohen v'hinei pasta Hamispahat ba'or v'timo hakohen sarat hi negat savrat ki tihiyeh ba'adam v'huva el hakohen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'haye olam nata v'tohenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Okay, good. I gotta give you a hug. Got lost there for a second. Ya'amdu Hagmabi v'Hagolalot Ya'amod Yordan ben Miriam Ta'amod Miriam bat Moshe v'Chava. We rise as the Torah is lifted and dressed.
So this week's Haftorah portion comes from 2 Kings, and we find the appearance of the same kind of leprosy or tzara'at found in our Torah portion. In the Haftorah, Naaman, who's a very respected commander in the Armenian army, he was valued as a warrior and he was thought to be favored by God. He got Sarat. And there was an implication there that there was a limit to the favor that God found him. Now, his wife's slave, originally from Israel, suggests that Naaman go to Samaria to meet with the prophet Elisha. And Naaman asks permission from the Armenian king, who writes a letter to the king of Israel explaining that he is sending Naaman to be healed from this skin disease. Now, the king first thinks that this is a letter to incite war, and he tears his clothes in a gesture of mourning. But soon he was visited by Elisha, who says, "Send Naaman." Now, when Naaman comes, Elisha's treatment is pretty unexpected. The prophet tells Naaman to immerse himself 7 times into the Jordan River, and despite his initial reluctance to do so, Naaman carried out the prophet's orders and was immediately healed. Afterwards, Naaman offers a gift, which Elisha declines, saying that God isn't interested in gifts. So it is then that the general promises that he would no longer serve any God but the eternal, and then departs. So Ryan is going to be chanting from our Haftorah this morning. It is going to be 2 Kings chapter 5, verses 15 through 17, which can be found on page 5 of your service booklet.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar binviim tovim v'ratzah v'divrehem hane'emarim be'emet Baruch atah Adonai haboher b'Torah uv'Moshe avdo uv'Yisrael amo uv'invi'ei ha'emet v'zedek Vayashov el ish ha'Elohim hu v'chol mahanehu vayavo vayamon lefanav vayomer hinena yadati ki in Elohim b'chol ha'aretz ki im b'Yisrael va'ata kachna v'racha me'et avdecha vayomer ha'Adonai asher amati lefanav Imekach v'yivsar bo lekachat v'yema'en v'yomer Naaman v'lo yutana la'avdecha mesa zemed pradim adema Ki lo ya'aseh od avdecha ola v'zefa lelohim aharim ki im Adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam sur kol haolamim tzadik bechol hadorot האל הנאמן האומר ועושה המדבר ומקיים שכל דבריו אמת וצדק על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים ועל יום השבת הזה שנתת לנו, אדוני אלוהינו, לקדושה ולמנוחה, לכבוד ולתפארת על הכל. אדוני אלוהינו, אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך, יתברך שמך בפי כל חי תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Amen.
My Torah portion, Tazria, discusses the idea of people being considered impure because of a physical alignment and the ways to then be considered pure. One thing that stood out to me was how a mother after childbirth is considered impure. While reading, I found it sexist, especially since if the mother gives birth to a male, she is considered impure or unclean for a span of 7 days. Although if the child happens to be a female, she is impure for 2 weeks. The reasoning for this, of course, is due to the fact of how they contribute to the community. Additional rules are placed on mother when she gives birth to multiple children, and the portion indicates that the mother must also provide a lamb, turtle dove, or pigeon offering. Impurity is also placed among those who have been diagnosed with a sin disease called sara'at. The person is considered impure when they have white, scaly patches on their skin. This person is to serve in 7-day quarantine. After the 7 days are up, they're taken in for a re-examination to see if they're back to the normal state of purity. The person who has been claimed impure holds their quarantine in the desert. Sara'ah stands out or makes them seem different to the rest. To me, my portion came across as if our ancestors saw this physical deformity as something disgusting, vile, and that person was judged for it. It's like telling someone that something's wrong with them because they're different. All this made me think about how society is today. The differences between a male and a female is still based on their body, the way they look, and the way they feel. As a teenage girl living in the 21st century, there's so much expected from me. Having to look and act a certain way, being judged because men want a certain form of body or a certain way for you to smile and laugh. They want you to wear makeup, but then when you do, you're not considered natural. They want you to work out, but then when you do, you're like plastic. They expect so much you don't realize the pain it puts us through as people. Through my own experience, I can say that going through it is extremely difficult. I hate being judged and having to keep my thoughts in so I wouldn't be a burden, and having to act a certain way so that society wants me. The worst of it all is the way people treat me due to my body. I'm expected to have the perfect hourglass and the right lower body. They expect me to do everything I can so that they're happy. And even worse, I feel obliged to it. I do what I can to be the so-called perfect person. I'll always carry on the memories of it all. I remember working out every day, being insecure over girls who were on social media, and most of all, I remember the little jokes and comments that I took so hard to heart. This wouldn't make anyone feel good about themselves, and I know it didn't make me. What I've also realized is that I might not want to be the Ryan that someone else wants me to be, but I am the Ryan that I want to be.
At this time, we're going to invite up Julie and Chris once more to the Bima to read a prayer of Shehechianu, a prayer enabling us to reach this special day.
I said I was sorry.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehekianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Amen.
We rise once more as our ark is opened and we return the Torah to the ark and we present a blessing to Ryan. Authentic, vulnerable, courageous, resilient. That describes you. He agrees. Cantor and I are beyond proud of you. We know that to become a bat mitzvah is a journey. And oftentimes, it is not only a journey of discovering a Jewish identity, but it is a journey of self-discovery in general. When we were first talking about writing your Devar Torah, you wanted to make sure that this was a speech that defined who you were. That's exactly what it did. You are not the Ryan that everybody wants you to be. You are the Ryan that you are and that you want to be. And that is the Ryan that we care about and everybody loves. It's been so wonderful to work with you. It's been so wonderful to see your involvement within our congregation, especially as a madracha this year. You know that our doors are always open. You now have a best friend in Jonah. He literally said when we got in my car last night, more play. But we are proud of you. We care about you. And it is our honor to bestow upon you one of the oldest blessings in our tradition.
Yevachech Adonai ve'yishmerech.
May God bless you and keep you always.
Yaher Adonai panav elayich v'chunech.
May the light of God shine upon you so you can shine your light into the world.
Yisa Adonai panav elayich v'yasem lach shalom. Shalom.
May God grant you strength and wholeness and peace as you go on your way. And we say, Amen.
Shalom.
Please be seated. So this week's Torah portion, Tazria, reads like a dermatology textbook of the ancient world. We read a detailed array of symptoms, but no therapy, at least not treatment in modern terms. And another big difference from modern medicine, we don't see dermatologists here. The diagnosis and the treatment is by the priests. Now, as Ryan discussed in her Devar Torah, the priest examines the afflicted person, secludes him from the camp for a set number of days, at which the point the priest visits and re-examines the patient. Yes, it's the priest that makes the house calls. And if the priests see improvement, the person immerses in the mikveh and returns into the camp. And if he doesn't get better, he remains in seclusion until the priest re-examines him. Now, if he doesn't get better, or if certain symptoms appear, the Torah tells us that, quote, as for the person with tzara'at, his clothes shall be torn, his head shall be left bare, and he shall cover his upper lip, and he shall call out, unclean, unclean. He shall be unclean as long as the disease is on him. Being unclean, he shall dwell apart. His dwelling shall be outside the camp. Now, like Ryan, I've had a visceral reaction to these verses. Really, seriously, how barbaric and cruel is it to be placed in isolation and to be labeled different? But let's examine this process a little more closely. First, let's take note of the fact that the priest goes outside the camp to the ill person who is contagious, and the priest actively demonstrates his concern and care for the patient by going out of his way to see him. Further, as one biblical scholar notes, all disease was regarded as a punishment from God for some wrongdoing. Now, in the case of tzara'at, there was the tradition that it represented a punishment from God for the acts of malice, that of lashon hara, evil speech or gossip. Now, tradition teaches us that just as lashon hara, malicious speech, erodes the soul, it gets in our skin, our outer covering. What we are on the inside eventually shows on the outside. Now, I'm not implying that God punishes us by making us sick. But I do wonder if the biblical linkage of illness and God's punishment is in reality a statement about our own control of our health. Now, we know that there are very many health issues that are well beyond our control, and we can often mitigate them and at least help the odds by taking care of ourselves through diet, through exercise, and psychological and spiritual well-being. The Torah even recognized this health connection of body and mind, something that modern medicine is just catching on to. Now, the Torah also uses this parsha to teach us about compassion for those who are sick, and it reminds us that it doesn't matter why they got sick. Sickness deserves compassion, period. But there's something else here. So too with being different. Whether there be challenges with mental illness, physical differences, learning differences, etc., it really doesn't matter. It deserves compassion. It deserves to be affirmed. and sometimes it deserves to be celebrated. So there's a story with a twist. In 1848, there was a cholera epidemic in Vilna. As usual in times of calamity, the Jews began to examine what sins of theirs might have brought this about. So one man came to the great Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, father of the Musar movement, and told him that a certain person was violating Torah. Now, Rabbi Yisrael said to him, "It is a person with tzara'at, these biblical skin diseases, who was sent outside all three camps in the desert because, as our sages tell us, tzara'at comes from slandering others." But, Rabbi Yisrael added, the sin of slander does not consist of just spreading lies about others, but about seeking faults in others rather than in oneself. Thus, the one who slanders is told, if you are so good at finding fault, go out of the camp, isolated by yourself, and search for your own faults and sins. In a similar commentary, Rabbi Salanter teaches, the reason why a person who finds fault in others is committing a sin, because he should have found time and used that time to find fault in himself. And Rabbi Yisrael Salanter didn't invent that. He learned it from the Talmud, which says, and he who continually declares others unfit is himself unfit and never speaks in praise of people. And Samuel said, with his own blemish, he stigmatizes others as unfit. Now, many of us have the same experience. We see faults in others, often without realizing that we might be looking in a mirror. The faults that we see probably also belong to us. We simply mask our own issues by focusing on those perceived faults in others. But our tradition, it makes it clear we're not supposed to go around the world labeling people as unclean, or impure, or unholy. We're supposed to look for those good points. And even if we see their flaws, we should take that as an opportunity for us to search our own hearts. Shabbat Shalom. We continue at the top of page 5. No, we don't. I always mess this up.
We're continuing on page 645 with a song of blessing.
Lechi lach to a land that I will show you. Lech lecha to a place you do not know. Lechi lach on your journey I will bless you, and you shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. Lechi lach. Lechi lach. And I shall make your name great. Lech lecha. And all shall praise your name. To the place that I will show you. L'simchat chayim, l'simchat chayim, l'simchat chayim, lechi lach. And you shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. Lechi lach.
I know what comes next. We rise together for Aleinu at the top of page 587 as our ark is opened.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שהוא שם חלקנו לאחד את שמו, וגור עלינו להמליך מלכותו, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
You may be seated. We're continuing on page 591.
May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding, loved, each of us, for the peace we bring to others.
May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift our hand, but to conquer fear and doubt and despair.
Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with joy, of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
The meditation before Kaddish can be found on page 592, and the Kaddish can be found on page 598. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give to me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people that I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands, by letting bodies touch bodies, and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die. People do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. On this Shabbat, our congregation offers its condolences to Marty and Wendy Lazar on the death of their sister-in-law, Leslie Phillips, and to Alice Nichols on the death of her cousin, Richard Kipperman. We also remember Ryan's grandfather, Bob Freeman, and we remember those loved ones whom death has recently taken from us. Judy Kalmus, Leo Feingold, Israel Gantz, Ron Wolk, Marianne Riley, Adina Neer, Tamara Noten, Mimi Levy, James C. Price, Colette Kaplowitz, Rita Smith, David Corman, J. Guadalupe Chavez, Dr. David K. Burke, Elizabeth Ludwig, Bernard Kennis, Charles Stone, Rima Zaratsky, Leonard Popowitz, Mark Elliott, Esther Young-Wedner, Marjorie Hart, Roseanne Lewitt, Morton J. Friedberg, Estelle Levine, Larry Lisenby, Mark Franklin. We also add those names of those loved ones who passed away at this season in years past. Ida Frankel, Gerald Friedland, Mira Bashi, Musa Saluki, Eunice Michelson, Esther Siegel, Elizabeth Bone, and Barnett Rogers. At this time, if you would like to add the name of someone who passed away recently or whose yahrzeit falls on this Shabbat, I invite you to rise and do so now. Zichronam Livracha, may the memory of each and every person that we have named aloud and within our hearts be for an enduring blessing. Supporting those who mourn and in the memory of the martyrs of our people, we rise together as Kaddish is recited. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divrach yiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh, b'chayachon uvyomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'gala uv'izman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevarach le'olam olmei olmaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yatadar v'yataleh v'yatalal shemei dekudusha barichu, le'olam min kol birchata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'romav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. May the source of peace and peace to those who mourn, and may the source of comforts and comfort to all who are bereaved. And we say, amen. Please be seated. At this time, it is my pleasure to invite up Sue Sasso to the Bima to share some announcements and then some words to Ryan as she gives some gifts.
Shabbat Shalom. Okay, I have a few announcements first. Next Friday, April 8th, is a Shabbat service at 7:30. It will be here in the sanctuary as well as live streamed. On Sunday, April 10th, there is a program that Rabbi Schwartz is presenting on Zoom at 9 a.m. It's called The Rabbi's Remaking of Passover. On that same day, on April 10th, at 2 p.m., the Shir Hadash's Women's Seder is being held by the Sisterhood. So please join the women of Shir Hadash as we connect and rejoice in being able to be together once again live. It's been a little while. Please register online for that. And at the same time, there's a lot going on Sunday, April 10th. At 2 p.m., there will be a group of people assembling hygiene kits. So it's a mitzvah day, that's a blessing, a mitzvah day opportunity. Unite with Jews, Christians, and Muslims to assemble hygiene kits for our unhoused neighbors to keep themselves and others healthy. The event will be outdoors. We will be assembling kits at 2 p.m. on the patio. And again, please go to the temple calendar for more information and to register. And on Saturday, April 16th, we will be having our congregational Passover Seder, and that's at 5 p.m. in the sanctuary as well as live Zoom. So please RSVP by April 8th to ensure there's enough food for everyone who is coming in person. That's it for the announcements. And now it is my pleasure to have Ryan come up so that I can wish you a Yesher Koach. So today, Ryan, you're standing on the bima as a bat mitzvah, and everyone in this room and on Zoom, if there are people on Zoom, are so proud of you. Becoming a bat mitzvah is a significant milestone in your Jewish life, and you aced it. I'm aware that preparing to become a bat mitzvah has come with its challenges, which is par for the course. But through perseverance, deliberations, and ultimately hard work, you've demonstrated that you can do hard things. Ryan, you told me that your Torah portion resonated with you because people were ostracized for something that was out of their control. And you believe people should be accepted for who they are on the inside, not scorned based on looks, health, or gender. And you know that speaking out against injustice and ugly behavior, even when it's hard, is imperative, and you're ready. You did that. That's probably why you enjoy listening to music like Lady Gaga. Because she sings about self-love and acceptance for all people, for who they are. So now as a bat mitzvah and as an adult, you have the chops to carry on the Jewish tradition of tikkun olam, which translates into repairing the world. So Ryan, I hope you will carry forward all you've learned in preparing for this special day as you encounter your new experiences in your Jewish and secular life in the years to come. And as your mom said, you are passionate, you are fun, and you are funny. These qualities will serve you as you go forth and forward as a bat mitzvah. So as your board representative and longtime friends of your parents, I'm honored to congratulate you on behalf of the board and the clergy. And I hope these gifts that I'm going to present to you will be a part of your Jewish life and experiences in the coming years. And there are 2 certificates, one for a trip to Israel and one to the JCC. So you can work out if you want. And then to celebrate Shabbat, here is your very own Kiddush cup. And then because we know we'll be seeing a lot of you at Temple, here are your own sidurs for you to use. So Mazel Tov, I'm so proud of you, and you are amazing. We're almost done.
There's also a certificate in there telling you that you did it.
Immediately following our closing song, I invite up Ryan's parents and sister to join us on the bima for Kiddush and Motzi. And as you exit the sanctuary, please put away your prayer books where you found them, and there'll be a lovely Kiddush lunch for you guys to enjoy. Our closing song is Ojevo Shalom Aleinu on page 657. I got that one right.
You did. Please rise and join
Please
us.
rise.
Ojevo Shalom Aleinu, Ojevo Shalom Aleinu, Ojevo Shalom Aleinu, ve'al kulam. Ojavo Shalom Aleinu, Ojavo Shalom Aleinu, Ojavo Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kulam, Salam Aleinu Ve'al Kol HaOlam, Salam, Salam, Salam Aleinu Ve'al Kol HaOlam, Salam, Salam. Ojavo Shalom Aleinu, Ojavo Shalom Aleinu, Ojavo Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kulam. Ojavo Shalom Aleinu, Ojavo Shalom Aleinu, Ojavo Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kulam.
Shabbat Shalom.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Okay, then go take a piece of challah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Mazel tov once more.
Mazel tov, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
All right, that's enough. There'll be challah as people exit the sanctuary, and the Kiddush lunch can be found through the Oneg room.